not attending the... Welcome back, students. This is teacher Grecia Torres. We are here with my student from English 7 in graphic design from Universidad Columbia del Paraguay. We are having the second part of our sessions today on May the 10th, 2025, in order to fulfill a development or a full complete class with information related to the topics that we have been presented in the first part, that it was about the personal job interview and specific questions and information that were relevant to all of us. And I want to continue now with the second part that will conclude the first part. And then we will also introduce about a specific new topic. And then that will be about the design process. And the last task will be also talking a little more about the packaging oral presentation that you will need to do for later, because it's already set up in virtual class. However, as we are not ready that our virtual class is open or ready, we are going to start working after in the evening or tomorrow or during the week, so that we can all have the 2 tasks that are due for the next week, which is going to be like the personal job interview and the information that you need to have for what is your packaging. Okay, let me go on the next part regarding to the idea of our presentation. Cannot minimize Zoom or no, I don't want it. Let me just see that I want to share something. Okay, I will go just to open a specific share that you could see what is happening inside of my computer in this moment. So that let me go to you and I will use the information in order for you to see. Okay, do you all see the section where it says elevator pitch or questions about elevator pitch? Yes? Tell me if you can see with me the 1 minute elevator pitch that we talked about already. Carlos or Miguel, can you answer if you see the 2 minute interview in pitch?
Teacher,
Yes.
se ve tu correo.
You see my email. Okay, so that's what I wanted just to see which is correct. So the email, so maybe it's here. You see my email. Let's see then where we are. Okay, so let me just stop the sharing because of an inconvenience on the site. But let me open here and then you tell me what you can see now. Because sometimes it is not easy. Okay, there is better. Yes, you were seeing the outlook and I needed to work on this order. Okay, there is where we stop. The 2 minute interview pitches. Yes, so here says, I am a software developer with more than 8 years of professional experience, expertise in, and then the person says, in Python, and a proven track record of providing innovative solutions to a variety of clients. So this is your introduction. And then you said the background. While I was pursuing an undergraduate degree in math and computer science, I worked remotely for a small mobile app. So, you know, that's the idea. You have to do your introduction, your background, and the goals. So don't forget that this is only for 2 minutes. The idea is that we have 3 minutes, so you can enlarge particularly part of your presentation. And then the most are like elevator speech of 5 minutes. So sometimes it might take longer. Sorry, I don't have time to answer the WhatsApp, but there are people who are writing. And if you can tell, if it's something that has to do with our classes, let know that we are in Zoom, that I cannot answer there anymore. Okay, so now I wanted to go in here. Let's go about other questions that are necessary for you to take into consideration in case that you are going to be asked. Okay, first of all, let's go at tell me about your qualifications and yourself is where we have the elevator pitch. Now let's see the other question. What makes you unique? Yes, so this is an idea that it makes you very special among others, right? So maybe this is an example, but it looks like interesting. My ability to exceed deadlines without sacrificing accuracy stand out in my previous job. I deliver early quarterly reports, earning a promotion. All right, so this person is talking about the really responsible the person is and how can fulfill deadlines. Okay, then why should we hire you? That's another important question. So then you put, I thrive in fast-paced settings and deliver weekly updates, perfect for your work style. You might say my deadline-driven skill set fits your job prescription, and I am excited to join your team. So at the end, you just need to have the right answer quickly, but think about, I will also share with you this line so you can also check the questions again, but you practice your own answers. Why do you want to work here? Remember we talked last class, you need to also make a little research about the place so that you know where it is and what do they do and why is it an important place to work. Then what interests you about this role? So if you want to work as a specialist in that area, then you need to know why you want to work there. Okay, what motivates you? This is another important question because sometimes when we are interested on a position that is to work, most of the things is to help other people. But in this case, you need to know that dealing or working with specifically clients or customers will represent a lot of your passion and your capability to understand other needs, all right? Then we have to highlight your strengths and weaknesses. This is really important. Whatever is a weakness, you need to strengthen that. And I was like thinking about people who say, no, I cannot speak, teacher, I am so PT, or I am like very shy person. That is a weakness. So what you need to do is to look for a kind of help where you can learn a little more, maybe about oratory aspects, or maybe you confront a little more the publics, or you talk a little more, or you express your feelings a little easier, like try to communicate more effectively. And at the end, that weakness will become your strength, So then it's what are your greatest strengths? This is another aspect. So which is the best of you? So you tell me what are you perfect on there? And then what are you planning on your career? So then you tell me like how you see yourself. Yeah, where do you see yourself? So I would like to become this or that, because I was having a conversation with some of the students. It was so interesting because the person was thinking that the person could do a secretary job. but actually when you are a designer, you do more than a secretary job. But so you need to see yourself working as a graphic designer, even though you don't have all the expertise or the experience, but in the future you will be working on this because you have decided to do this career. Okay, so there are like more important questions, more than 20. So I want for you to go on every one of these questions. And I remember one situation that it was calling my attention. For example, that usually when we are working or when we are going to work for some other people or we are going to do a task, we always have to think about that there will always be other people uh, in a higher level of us and a lower level of us. If you are being hired for a specific job, you need to also deal with different kind of people and different organizational, like they say, hierarchies, So you need to also be very respectful and very responsible, So avoiding problems or misunderstandings, and remember, your bosses are the first people that you need to talk to. So in order or hierarchy, maybe in this moment you have your teachers and maybe you have your authorities from the university, as I have mine too. So that's why we always need to be flexible in a way in order to talk and find a solution. So solving questions or solving situations are what they call today the habilidades blandas. And then these things are not easy to find in real life, because most of the time we only think about ourselves. But in this case, when you work for other people, you need to think better about how to do in order to help other people, like from the company and outside of the company too. All right, so these are some of the questions that it would be very interesting. So I will be copying this link in there. So later I will share with you also on the WhatsApp. All right, so now I'm going to go back to this other, and we are going just to continue with the other section. Okay, so let's start with the new content. There is a new content because we have to continue. Well, I got today this topic that is related to, let me share it with you now. Okay, we are going to start talking about the design process. Tell me when you see the document, please. Okay, I hope that you are all seeing something where it says imagine, plan, and create. Do you see the document?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your feedback, because sometimes technology doesn't work as fast as we imagine, but it works very well today. It solved a problem. Okay, so this is one of the topics that when we go into the exoneration exam, that now it will be called different way, that it will say that capabilities exam, will be changing the name. So for English 7, when I went into the interview or a final oral talking with your colleagues that they have attended to the exam, they needed to tell me specific technical words that we use in the process of the design, our design process actually. So we're gonna see and look at this picture. Okay, you tell me that you see here kind of a circle, like oval form. It means the order or the process itself that you needed to go through to communicate efficiently with your clients. Or at the end, in the idea of trying to solve something, So let's go on the description. Well, tell me please, if you go to a meeting, like with your client, which of these 5 circles that are in red will you do first? I wait for your answer. It could be anyone. Open your microphones and answer. Will you ask something? Will you imagine something? Will you plan something? Will you create something? Or will you improve something? I don't know if my students are still there, because I don't see you, because you didn't open your cameras. But you know that on class like this, you need to open your cameras, you need to raise your hand or answer when it's open. Tell me, which of these processes will you go through? Or which one will you go first when you go to a meeting? Brisa, are you there? Carlos, are you there? Roque, can you answer the question? Jose, can you answer the question? O Marina o Analia? Okay. Marina, you cannot talk, so you tell me, please. You can write down which of these will you do first in your design process?
Sorry, teacher. I was just washing the dishes. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
What's the question?
Which of these 5 circles will you choose if you want to know or start a design process? Okay, here somebody's
Which
writing
one
something.
you first?
Yeah, go. Just answer.
Okay.
Go.
It depends of the a ver, depende, profe, because it's something for the client.
It's
First, we
something
need
for
to
a
ask.
client. For the client. We don't have
Yes.
yet a contact to the client, but we are going to the client. What do we have to do to start the design process?
Ask.
Asking. Very good, Marina. Thank you for your answer. That was what I was expecting. And somebody was telling me, oh, I am on the bus. I don't have a microphone. Somebody was writing there. And you were washing the dishes, doing the dishes. But don't worry. Thank you for your answer. Okay, so you see that it's very important that whenever we are starting the idea of a design, you need to make the right questions to your client. It doesn't mean that we have all the general ideas, or the general questions, but what is most recommendable is that we create already some specific questionnaire that it will work for us in order for everyone that is going to work around the idea of the developing of the design, they could know what does the client really need. All right, so after we have this and we have the information, the size, the color, maybe the characteristics or things like that, then we can go on which one. We can already go maybe on the imagination or creative area, or maybe we can start dealing with the situation. And then you have a plan and where time or the process itself, or how can I do, where can I get the things, or specifications,
We need
and
to think about the plan.
yes, and we go on the planning, and then also we see what are going to be the problems, what could be the
Yes.
situation, and then you go to the creative and development of the problem. Like, I mean, the solution already, that you have whatever is the possible solution that you found. And of course, at the end, you come back to your client and you may talk and introduce your solution. And then maybe for sure the client will say, yes, I agree. No, I don't agree. I like it. Or I will prefer some changes on this or that. And I need to make a questions here because I know that not all of you are like very easily answering, but actually, is it good that you go on making more questions again, like all of the time to the client? Or is it okay if you have the right time, like we go on a meeting, like it will be 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 50 minutes, and then you have all the information? Or it's better if you just, okay, I talk 5 minutes now, and then later or tomorrow, oh, I forgot to make the questions about this or that. Which one do you consider is best to do? Maybe, is it, can we have all the time a total access to a client normally? For sure, I tell you that maybe your client would be very busy later. Yes? And maybe tomorrow cannot answer back again the questions that you forgot about questioning. All right? So, my personal recommendation here is that you need to have your questions properly set up. And I could even challenge you, kids, that you can create a formal like document that will help you to make the right and proper questions when you have your interviews with your client according to the specific job that you needed to develop. Like in this case, like you need to develop a design, all right? Okay, I will go on the material and then we can talk a little more about that. Okay, here we have a specific things that you need to consider in the designing process. Let's got to read together. A designer might consider these steps in a designing process. First of all, to manufacture, can the product be made with our facilities? Okay, so it means that I don't know if maybe the client is asking me a billboard that is too big to have it in my classroom or in my room, like in this area. So I needed it that you probably think about like, is this going to be done here? Or it could be done outside of the site of the own room. Maybe it could be done in another city or maybe in another place, so we need to think about that. Then selling, are we producing a product that the customer wants? That's another important topic, because when we are having the idea of a meeting, we need to have totally all the real information and be totally sure that the client, has totally communicated, and that you have totally understood what is the real interest the client have. Because if we start thinking about your personal ideas and not about what the clients need, probably there is going to be a big problem later on, because you probably cannot get to have the product that the client needs. Okay, then the purchase. Are the parts specified in stock, or do I have to order them? So this is a situation that, for example, let's suppose that you needed to bring pieces of cardboard from another city, and then you say, no, it will take me like 2 more days to fulfill everything, and at the end it will last and it will take you more of the required time. So probably it's going to be better not to start the job, because not to like make a compromise about doing this, because if you're going to buy it from Ciudad del Este, and then you need to go to Ciudad del Este or ask for somebody to send it to you, it will take to you like more or less 1 day, or pay more even that is necessary, So we need to think, is it worth it? Can we afford that? Or whatever. So it comes to the idea of the cost. Yes, is the design going to cost too much to make? That's another problem. And I remember a situation that one of a great my students loved about preparing books for children, but this student was wishing to prepare like the different textures and feeling the students might have, a little child might have, when you buy like when you have like soft or hard or tough or heavy or brilliant, things that are really very interesting for children. But at the end, the poor girl spent more than 250,000 years in the development of the book, the child book. And of course, it's all fantastic. But when it meant for some other people to buy your book, your children book, there are very few people of parents that may spend 250 grand to buy that book, so the cost is important, and printing and the coloring and also the different textures, it made it so expensive. So we need to think well about giving our final in like, how could you say, cost, because otherwise you will spend your money in order to do something that you will earn nothing. All right, so now let's talk about the transport. Is the product the right size for the method of transporting? Can we have my billboard being transport in my little cart, or can I send it by motorcycle, or do I have to hire or contract some big bus or big truck to sell or send it there, or can I put it just in a more smallest bag or things like that? So at the end, transport is important. And then the disposal at the end, what will be the real ending of the product? At the end, well, more or less, for the care of nature, we have to think about what would be the final disposal of the product. Now, I have other like 5 minutes to talk to you. And now here we have the stages of a design process. Think with me a little now because we are having like very quickly mentioning. Designing the brief, which is often at the beginning, yes, which is a statement of design goals. Yes, that we needed to know which specific questions I'm going to ask to my client in order to know and have the design brief. Then you go to the analysis, which is analysis of current design goals. Then you have the research, that is the investigating similar design solutions in the field or related topics. Then you have the specifications, specifying requirements of a design solution for a product. So it's particularly that you needed to go through very quickly. Sometimes students do this very fast, but they don't recognize them separately. But there's a process that you need to go that they call the stages of a design process. Then you have the problem solving, which is the conceptualizing and documenting design solutions. And then you have the presentation, which is a presenting the design solutions. Well, it could be like working with some projections like PPT or example, or maybe you have already can you say like it would be like a prototype, all right? Then you have the development that you continue and improve the design solution. At the end, after the presentation, there will always be a probability that they will ask you for a change on your final that's like piece of work. Then the testing. Testing means that if it works or not, like okay, can we try it, or can I touch it, or can we open it, so the person will really see if the material works or not. Then you have the post-production design feedback that at the end they will tell you, okay, so we can repeat the same campaign for January, or in December we can already redo this, but we can change because it's gonna be summer. So what we do is just change it a little, the idea, but it continues with the new season. Then you have the implementation, which is introducing the design solution into the environment. So at the end, you send it to the reality. And then they say that evaluation and conclusion, which is the summary of a process and results, including constructive criticism and suggestions for future improvements. So here is where you are thinking, okay, I like it, all of this. We will prefer it for next year or next campaign that we do some changes. But there is an evaluation. There will always be an evaluation of a total final work. And then there's probably going to be a redesign that they call it for the different old processes that will be repeated, like corrections or any time before, during, or after the production. So the redesign could happen to be during the process as a part of the design process. Okay, so you see here, you see the different product design process. This is the case that you have a product, like you have the research, the concept, the design, the development, the design documentation, the prototype, and the engineering and production. When you have a product, it takes to the section that you create a prototype, you do the engineering, and you have the production. That will take you more. But of course, and sometimes it might take you a little longer because of the idea of producing a prototype or producing the material itself. But in designing, usually it takes like the other first that I mentioned to you here. All right, so don't worry if you at least remember the different names that are here for the process of design. All right, remember, because these are the specific technical words. Why am I talking to you here? In the idea of the example that we have on the book, they gave us the idea of shoemaking. So remember, you go to the meeting, you have the brief, you talk to your client, you meet with the client, you talk about the necessities or the changes that the person will go through. And then what they do here is that they make a research about which are the products that you may need. Then you can create a storyboards about what's going to be like. Then you see the range plan. That's going to be the order, the organizational. Then you design a brief, go to the initial ideas, then you create which will be the out haul, or probably this is a product that is not for our deal, but it is in the book, so that's why I use it. So then you have the heel development that people will like or know, the out call, that you create the cat, that for us is really important because it will tell you the specifications that they will require, depending on what would be the final product. Then you have the pattern cutting, the brief in, like we contact to the person, and we even here in this case, like you create the sample room for our clients. Okay, so let's continue. And then you have the samples, amendments, or the colorways, or the materials combinations. Then you create the final sample, and then you go to the final season. We are about to stop here because in 1 minute the second session will stop, and then you can come back again for a last session.